Welcome to another episode of Sanctuary Radio. This is a podcast brought to you by Sanctuary Recovery Centers. Our mission is to break the stigma surrounding addiction, to empower others to live addiction-free lives, providing hope to those who suffer from addiction and offer continued care and true healing. All right, here we are, another episode of Sanctuary Radio. Oh my goodness, it's Friday. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this, and I got my co-host,
right?
Haley. Haley, what's going on, Haley?
Not much. It's a cold, rainy day here in Oklahoma.
I mean, just out there in Oklahoma. I mean, when it's raining, what do you guys do when it rains out there?
We stay inside.
You don't do nothing, huh?
I don't do anything. No, I'm inside. I'm bundled up. I'm freezing. So.
Well, it actually rained in here last night, and it's super cold, like for us. You know what I mean? So. Well, right. It's good to see you, Haley, and we got another episode, and, you know, it's Friday, and every Friday we put out, you know, some new material, and today we have, you know, not only a personal friend of mine, but, you know, a member of the Sanctuary team. I want to welcome everybody. We got Ryan on the show today.
What's up?
Oh, there he is. I mean, are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
All right. Well, just the only piece of advice I can give you is don't F it up, brother.
Yeah, you've told me that like 4 times already.
It's okay. He tells me the same thing, so.
Yeah. All the time, you know, and so whenever anyone comes on the show, whether it's, you know, a Sanctuary team member or, you know, another representative from another facility that we work with, because recovery is a team sport, you know, I always like to kind of, you know, get the history of the relationship with the person. So I met Ryan, I sponsored Ryan, and Ryan, why don't you tell them, you know, how we met?
Yeah, for sure. So I went through Crossroads Flower the beginning of this year, and I remember, I think it was the first Sunday there, you were on the panel of the HAE meeting, Handcuffs Ain't Enough meeting at Crossroads Flower.
You like that name, Haley? Handcuffs Ain't Enough?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so that's the name of our meeting, and it's one of my...
I'm just a little confused, though, because Crossroads Flower is now a male facility, because it used to be a female facility. I used to sponsor women there.
Yeah, so Crossroads Flower now is, you know, they do the federal pre-trials. Yep. You know, it's all male. They're all pretty much the whole population, all the clients there are on federal pretrial services. They actually get released to go there, and like it's a stipulation while they're going through court to go to treatment. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty cool deal. Right. It was a noon meeting. It was one of my, you know, service commitments. So Ryan, why don't you pick it up from there?
Yeah, it was literally the first Sunday It was the first meeting that I had gone to on Sunday there, where I saw you speak and share your story. And I remember a few days before that, I'd kind of just gotten thrown in with a sponsor who, you know, I didn't know anything about and hadn't heard a story or anything. And I was kind of like, all right, that's fine. But I knew I wanted to find somebody who, you know, inspired me, who I wanted what they had. And like I said, I remember, you know, going into this meeting on Sunday, and you shared your story. And I remember thinking, like, man, I should ask this guy to sponsor me. And then I was going back and forth in my head thinking, no, you know, he's probably too busy and all this stuff.
Yeah, Haley, you know about that, right? You know, when someone asks you to be their sponsor, you know, you know, as a sponsor, you kind of can see it, right? Like, you know, they're going to say it. They want to say it. It's like, it's like back in like 7th or 8th grade dances. You ever have those dances, Haley, back in 7th and 8th grade?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, and you know...
But also, I wasn't shy to ask someone to dance. It was probably boys were intimidated of me, because I was wild in 8th grade, so...
Yeah. You're still wild. What are we even talking about here?
Exactly.
Well, that's what it is. It's like kind of like this awkward, you know, because I believe it or not, I was a little shy, you know, back in the day. And
I can't believe it.
I was. And you just, it's that same type of thing when you see somebody who wants to ask you. And, you know, I remember that day when you asked me, and it was a time when we were, you know, my wife was pregnant, you know, we had a lot of doctor's appointments, I had a ton of stuff going on, but, you know, I took the time to sit down and work with you, man. And, things have changed, so much progress, Haley, Ryan started here. He was an overnight BHT at the residential that we have, for a long period of time. And then he came into, to swing shift and then day shift. And then now he is a case manager here at the IOP.
Yep.
I mean,
it sounds familiar to how I started out in my journey in treatment too. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Just, hard work, dedication, always doing your best, showing up, working a solid program outside of work. When we do these things, all the other stuff falls in line every single time. It's a fact, but you got to do your part. He's done his part. And, something about Ryan's story is I seen something in him. I worked the steps with him, which we're going to get into that as we go through, his message, his story. But, I took a chance, man. Haley, we hired him, and, I'm just going to put it all out there today. We hired you, and you had 90 days sober?
No, it was probably right around 4 months, or actually.
Yeah. 4 months.
It was like 5.5 months.
5.5 months.
Been a month and a half sober at
that's right. Okay, that's right. So he was in federal pretrial for a month and he was sober. But I mean, we hired him, and typically we don't hire anyone who doesn't have a year of recovery. It's a requirement. But I seen something in him, and we took the chance. And he's climbed the ladder. He's a case manager, and it's pretty badass. But every journey starts somewhere. So let's get into Ryan's story a little bit here. So Ryan, you were born in Phoenix, and one thing that we really relate to in our stories is having a good childhood, and not really experiencing trauma, and parents still being married and loving us and giving us every opportunity to be successful. So why don't you share what the family dynamic was like for you, growing up? So why don't you just take an opportunity to do that?
Yeah, like you said, I grew up in Phoenix, and I was born on June 15th, 1985. So I'm 37, and my childhood was quite normal, quote unquote. Like you said, I never really thought I experienced any kind of trauma. I've always had a picture of trauma as being, just the most extreme version, examples of trauma, which I never. Yeah, parents were very loving. There's, like you said, they're still together, and it was, like I said, a fairly normal childhood.
I mean, shout out mom and dad. I mean, let's get a shout out on the show. Sure. Hey, Haley, throw a shout out there. Who you want to shout out? I'm feeling frisky today.
I should probably shout out my mom.
Shout out mom.
Yeah.
You always got to shout out moms.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so you had a great childhood, and part of, all three of us really is having a great childhood, and our parents wanting to instill in us, God, right? And going to church, and I was an altar boy, for way too long. I was like in high school as an altar boy. You know what I mean? I'm up there with like a, like a 12-year-old, you know what I mean? And, cause I'm, Catholic and all that kind of thing. But, so that was a big part, Ryan. So why don't you share, being involved in church and, that whole journey?
Well, my story's a little interesting just because my parents didn't push anything onto me. I ended up having my best friend, growing up in 8th grade or 7th grade. He started to go to church and invited me, and I got real involved, kind of on my own, without my parents. But
did they actually go to the church too?
No.
Oh, it was just you?
Just me, yep. And my friend and I got real involved. We were doing youth group every Tuesday evenings, and then Sunday service, and going on trips with the church, like skiing, snowboarding trips. Just
damn, what kind of church you go to, man? CCB or something like that?
It was in Scottsdale. It was
it
was like North Scottsdale. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, snowboarding trips.
Yeah,
shit.
It was really cool. But yeah, I did that for like a year and a half or so, and then I ended up I don't know, long story, but had a falling out with the friends that I was going with, and it was around that time where I smoked weed for the first time and absolutely love the effects produced.
And that's what we do. We love it, right? I like it. I like
exactly.
the effects. Hey, Haley, were you in youth group when you were young?
Oh yeah, I was totally involved in church. I was raised Pentecostal though, so my experience was a little different. It was more like we got preached, the hell and brimstone. If you don't speak in tongues, you're going to hell. And we would go to church camp, and it was there's a lot of religious trauma in that. But now I have more of a non-denominational relationship with God. I'm more spiritual, which we talk about a lot, me being in my Bible and stuff. But I definitely have some religious trauma there. So
yeah, no doubt. But it's really the cornerstone of all three of ours recovery. I mean, it's definitely the cornerstone of it. It's the foundation, a connection to a higher power that gives us the ability to have some courage to, really dive deep inside us and, figure out what is going on and why we continue to, beat ourselves on the head with a hammer. And so you were involved for a church with for a long period of time, Ryan, and you smoked weed, but your story's a little bit different because you didn't smoke the next day, right? So what happened?
No, I was, you're similar age, and like back then, weed isn't looked at the way it is now, and so like I was scared. I didn't want my parents to know. I didn't want friends to know. Like I kind of did it secretively with a guy. I think it was in my French class who was like a year older.
French class?
Yeah, I was in I had like French 101 or something, and I remember.
Parlez-vous français?
I remember he asked like if I wanted to come over and try it, and I was really curious, and so I did, and. But I remember being scared. I didn't go home. I went to the gym to play basketball afterwards. I think I threw a pass off a guy's head because I was real high.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go home.
My bad, brother. Bad pass.
I was real scared. So I didn't smoke again for like around a year. I think it was like.
Can you believe that, Haley? You smoke weed, right? And then doesn't touch it. This thing is cunning, though, right? But that's the early stages it's the early stages of, and. When I look over, when we say cunning, baffling, and powerful, right? The baffling feature is the utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. We could wish it, we could pray, but we can't not use, right? We have to use, right? And so that's the baffling feature. But the cunning part to me, and the way I see it, is sometimes it'll let us do that, right? Like we can, if we relapse, maybe we'll drink one night and we go home, right? Not a big deal. And I might not pick it up for a while. And then I might go 2 weeks and I drink, right? And then I might go a month. And then all of a sudden, it's got me again. That's the cunning part of it. And so, you go almost a year and a half with no weed and, but 11th grade happens, junior year happens, right? So
and
what high school did you go to?
Shadow Mountain High School.
Oh, shout out. What's the mascot?
Matadors.
Matadors.
Yeah.
Oh, bullfighters?
What's a matador?
Yeah. That's
bullfighter.
Yeah, that's like your husband, Haley.
But I mean, he doesn't do the toros like Spaniard bullfighting, so I guess.
Dude, he does. Production.
Freestyle bullfighting.
Production,
yeah.
Please put a video right now of.
Just right here.
Yeah, of, Tyler doing his thing, right? And so what happens, though, in 11th grade, dude? Because you go full throttle. You go full on Bob Marley.
I obviously was not going to church. Now, mind you, though, I didn't smoke for a year, but I look back and like that obsession, like I thought about that experience of smoking for the first time a lot. And, I really enjoyed it. And so, yeah, it was like junior year and I smoked again with a friend and again, loved it. And, from then on it was, smoking more and more until it was
that's what we have.
Much all day, every day.
We have the disease of more, right? More, whatever, my, last night I was recording one of my personal podcasts, Powerless to Powerful. And, I asked my guest, I said, what's your drug of choice? And he said, what, you got a choice? And I love that because I don't have a choice in the matter. That's the powerlessness of it. There's no choice, right? Like I don't want to do it, but I'm doing it. The power to choose whether I will use or not is gone because of the mental obsession, the physical craving, right? And so you go full on pothead. Are we talking hemp necklaces? Are we talking bubblers and bongs and zongs and the whole nine? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I got like real like heady, you could say, and yeah, I was buying a lot of paraphernalia, pipes and bongs. But yeah, it was my senior year. It was smoking, getting high,
and then you started drinking.
Before class, during class, and then right after class.
During class? What, you lit one up right in class?
Listen, I can relate to that.
Well, we would leave and go drive around. We'd sneak off and go drive around for, a little bit. And, I remember one of my classes, I had a teacher's aide. And so, like, I would, sneak off and
Yeah, dude, I used to bet Haley. I used to go from second period to third period, do a beer run real quick, slam an 18-pack, and be back by lunch.
Yep.
You guys are wussies. I literally brought vodka in my water bottle and drank in class.
Oh,
so.
My bad. Yeah.
Literally, I was drinking during class. Like it was math class. I was tore up and I passed. So I don't know. I thought it was a good thing.
Yeah, that's funny. When we use, we're like, dude, it's
gave
better.
Me excuses.
Yeah,
right.
I'm better when I'm high. It expands my mind.
Yep.
I used to think that I can only do telemarketing and sales when I'm high.
Right.
No, that doesn't work. And so, you actually get drunk and take your finals.
Yeah. I got high and drunk on senior year finals.
What grade did you get?
I know I passed. I don't remember the grade.
Because you're smart too. We're all
See
smart.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, just kidding. I don't promote that. So.
Yeah, no doubt. But we think that, right? Because our mind tricks us. It's all up here. We think we're better when we're high. We think that we can, use and not experience. If I could use and not experience any sort of consequences in any way, I'd be using. But the fact is that the consequences start to pile up. But just like my story, it wasn't right away. I mean, I did get a lot of, tickets and minor consumptions and all that, but the major consequences didn't come till a little bit later in life. Yours was a lot longer than me, right? But so you graduate, and then what happens when you graduate?
I'm moving with a couple of buddies in an apartment, just smoking weed all the time. We start messing around with like Vicodins and Valiums and
the M357s?
Yeah, like the
my bad.
Norcos and stuff,
the
yellows and just was taking those more frequently.
The 5441s. Oh, my bad, brother.
But I started doing those and smoking a lot, and
like it.
I was working at Wells Fargo, and
shout out Wells Fargo.
Yeah. Started moving up the chain in there, and
what were you doing at Wells Fargo?
I was a teller, a lead teller, a personal banker, and eventually went to the phone bank where I was doing
collections.
Inbound.
Probably
sales.
Called my ass. Shit.
It was inbound sales.
I literally can't have a bank account with Wells Fargo because of my
neither.
addiction.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, they had that. You can overdraft your account.
Yep.
Yeah, we used to do check fraud with that.
Yeah, that happened.
Yep.
And so you're working at Wells Fargo, you start messing around with pills, and all of a sudden someone, brings some Oxycontin.
Yeah. It was around
the OC 80s.
Around this time.
Mean Green.
Yep. I'm living by myself now at this point at an apartment. Kind of by our residential is at 44th Street in Thunderbird, and
it's crazy because everywhere you go, like Haley, we'll talk about it here in a second, but you worked at the post office on Cave Creek and Rose Garden.
Yep.
Right. He worked at the Sunny Slope one that's right kind of close to the staff apartment. I mean, it's not staff apartments, the apartments that we have, the sober living.
Right.
And it's just crazy how everything that you were in active addiction and all the places you worked, everything is in this area. Now you're in this area.
It's all connected.
Yes, and he's bringing hope.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's God to me, right?
Honestly, I never thought I'd get sober here.
Yeah.
Never.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And so you start using 80s and OCs and anything you can get, and you meet a guy named Justin.
Yeah, I started to sell pot at that point because I didn't want to pay for it, and this guy Justin became my dealer, and we connected a lot and became really good friends. And
I'm gonna keep him close. You have to connect.
Absolutely. But he'd come over and drop stuff off to me, and we'd literally have 2, 3, 4 hour conversations and just hang out, and it developed a close friendship. And he's a really, really cool guy.
Yeah, and so you become really good friends with him, but you managed well for a period of time.
I managed very well. I ended up buying a home in 2009. It was like 2010, I think, and it was right after 2 years after the market crash in 2008. I'm working at the phone bank at Wells Fargo. I'm doing those 30s literally on my desk. But I was selling pot.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it.
Money
Hey, it's crazy how we do whatever we want, right?
Yeah.
Right on your desk.
Yeah, it was literally.
You ever chopped up a line right there on your desk at work? Not now, but
I never had a desk.
Oh,
I was gonna say I never had a desk. I always was a server, and I used to get high in the bathroom all the time. Yeah. So
hey, do you like that?
One time I found a bag of Coke in the bathroom. It was a great night.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Haley, I know you serving, and that was what you did early on. Did you ever see that movie? What's it called? Waiting. It's about servers.
No.
And you got to check that out. The server life ain't no joke. Everybody be partying when they're serving. And so, you bought a house, you did all these things, dude, but, were you restless, irritable, and discontent during this period of time? Because you moved to Colorado, right?
I was absolutely miserable working at Wells Fargo, and I had this opportunity. A good friend of mine had to go to Colorado Springs to take care of some family stuff, and he was going to stay in his father's home. Basically, his dad was, it's a long story, but his dad was on trial for murder. And so,
hold up.
Yeah. Basically,
plot twist.
My friend Drew had to go out there to deal with legal stuff and lawyer stuff for him. And
is he in prison right now?
No, he's actually passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Dang it.
Because he was a drug addict, and it was all because of drugs, this murder charge. Him and this younger...
How'd he die?
Drug
overdose?
Basically, he had an infection in his leg. Never took care of it because he was just strung out, and something happened.
MRSA death?
Ow.
I'm not sure. Yeah, but that happened. But we went out there, and I stayed with him in this house, and I quit Wells Fargo, and I was collecting Arizona unemployment out there, and just. I got my medical card out there because it was medically legal.
Colorado is, they're all about it. I think you could do mushrooms legally in Colorado.
I think you can.
Pretty sure you can, yeah.
Yeah, hold up.
But yeah, just was smoking pot every day, all day out there. But I learned a lot about photography out there, and I wasn't working. I was just, doing photography.
Yeah, I know. You take some great photos. And thanks, you stopped doing pills while you're out there. Did you experience any sort of withdrawal symptoms when you went out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I even powered through it?
I think I even brought a Suboxone strip just to help me get through. But yeah, I powered through it. I dealt with it plenty of times before. And I just started smoking pot and doing photography. And
you're out there for like 7 months, and then you move back to AZ, and there's going to be a real plot twist in his story, Haley, because he moves back to AZ, and then you go to where? Southeast Asia, and you go backpacking for 6 months. Imagine that, Haley. That'd be a dream, right? Just
right?
6 months. How'd you have the money to do that?
I ended up cashing a 401k out at Wells Fargo.
I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna get the
Smart.
cash. Yeah. I'll pay the what's it called? The penalty?
Yeah. I paid the penalty. Yeah. And I had a buddy who was gonna backpack.
What was that like? 6 months, Asia? Where'd you go?
We started off in Hong Kong. Spent 6 weeks there because my friend had friends teaching English there, and then from there we went to Vietnam for a month, Cambodia for a month, Laos for a month, Thailand for a month, did a little bit of time in Malaysia and Myanmar and Burma, and
damn,
yeah, and
that's awesome.
How cool is that, right? Yeah. Like 6 months, literally when you say backpacking, you're talking about like a real
like hostels and cheap hotels and
like a backpack though, like something you carry
we had
on your
like
back.
a big backpackers backpack. Yeah.
Wow. Damn, that must have been fun.
It was a life-changing experience. It talk about gratitude, for what we have out here. It's
right.
It was incredible.
There's so many people. Gratitude, the attitude of gratitude solves everything. I can't stress that enough. I'm so grateful today for the life that, recovery and God has given me, man. It's just unreal. And then you see when you go to other countries just how bad it is.
Yep. And the things we take for granted out here.
Yeah. And so you're there for 6 months doing your thing, dude. That must have, you take a ton of pictures.
I did. And, I've talked to you about it before, but I was literally getting loaded every day. We found weed and
they sold fucking Xanax right over the counter or what?
Most places sold Valiums and codeine tablets.
Blues? Yeah, the little blues with the little swoosh on them.
Yep. Yeah, a little blue. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You ever blacked out on some Valiums, some Xanax?
One time on a Valium, I stole it from my dad.
Yeah,
I didn't like that. I'm an upper person, so anytime I went down, I was like, not for me.
Dude, I'm telling you right now,
I'm good.
When we used to go to Rocky Point, I used to bring back, Valiums, and I lost a year of my life. When you wake up in the morning, a blackout from Xanax, you don't remember anything. The first thing you do is the Macarena, dude, because you're checking your pockets, your arms to make sure you're all right. Where's my keys? Where's my wallet? Where's my phone?
Hey, Macarena.
Hey, Macarena. And then you look out the window to make sure your car's still there and, not wrecked. It's crazy, man. I'm not a fan of them. And so you're really getting loaded in every single city that you were, everywhere you went.
Yeah, literally every city. Even in like Malaysia, where like the penalty could be death. We found.
Wow.
They'll kill you? You smoke a joint, they'll kill your ass out there?
Technically, that's what the penalty could be, but, I think it's extremely rare. But, yeah, we found weed the first day there. And,
were you doing opium? Were you doing pills?
There was a couple places we found opium, but for the most part, I was just going to the pharmacy every other day and buying Valiums and codeine tablets, and then we always had weed on us. What
a trip. So you're out there for 6 months, and then you come back. Another plot twist, Haley.
Yeah.
You sell everything?
Yeah, I sold my home, sold my car, and I had made some friends in Vietnam, and I went back over to Vietnam and taught English for a year. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really
How was
cool.
that, dude?
It was really cool. It was, again, another life-changing experience. Again, though, I was getting high every day. I would literally go to school and teach high, and yeah.
That's so into his story. I remember when we were doing some step work and we were getting into this and we were diving into his story, and I was just like, dang, man.
Yeah.
Culture, dude.
After backpacking, I got my TEFL certification here in Phoenix.
What?
It's a teaching English as a foreign language certification. It took like 2 or 3
cool.
weeks. Yeah. And then I went back to Vietnam and taught English for a year.
What happens after that?
I went to Thailand where I had, when I was backpacking, my friend and I did our open water and advanced open water.
Scuba diving.
Yep, certifications. And I went back there and did my dive master course, which took like a little over a month. And this is in Thailand is where things got pretty bad. But, I did my dive master certification. I got certified, and then I started working for the dive shop. I did that for a couple months, but I literally... I found opium, and I started smoking opium every day, like all day. And I would dive. I would be out there. They sold Xanax in the pharmacies, so I was literally getting high on opium and weed and taking Xanax before I would go diving, convincing myself that it'd be better for my air consumption.
Yeah, it's better when I'm high. Haley, you ever been scuba diving?
No. No, I lied. In 8th grade, I got to go deep diving, whatever, a night dive with my 8th grade field trip. And that was scary. I didn't like it.
Yeah, so...
I don't like the ocean at all. Like, I don't like murky water. I don't like the ocean. I don't like lakes.
You don't
not
know.
For me.
I mean, you don't even know what's in there. You must have seen some
exactly.
Cool
That's
stuff.
my point. I don't want to get eaten by something or bit by something. I'm good. I'll be on the boat. Yeah.
So I took a trip to Australia for a soccer tournament back in high school. We went to Hawaii and we went to Australia. And while we were in Australia, we were out there for, I think it was like 10 days we were out there. We were in this big soccer tournament. It was for the, USA team, the Olympic Development Program. And we went out there and my whole team went. And we went to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia and went snorkeling.
That's pretty cool.
And I jumped in the water and it's all netted off. Like the whole area is netted off. And they're like, yeah, it's like one of the most shark infested areas there is. As soon as they told me that, when I jumped in the water, I was there. We took a boat ride there. You just boat over there. And I was like, dude, I jumped in for the experience, snorkeled around a little bit and got out of there and hit the buffet, brother. They had a really good buffet on this boat. And so now you're in Thailand. Thailand, dude. So 6 months, you're backpacking in Southeast Asia. You come back, you sell everything. You move out to Vietnam. You teach English for a year, and then you go to Thailand, right? Mm-hmm. And you're in Thailand and you're scuba diving. And so do you become a scuba diving instructor, or how's that whole thing work?
Towards the end of my stay, I did do my IDC, which is like your instructor certification.
I mean, you're getting high this whole time.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, what, are you strung out? Like you need, like,
at one point, I did go to the pharmacy. I knew it was getting bad. I went to the pharmacy at one point and asked them if they had Suboxone, and she's like, no. And I'm like, do you know what that is? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, okay.
You're like, okay, do you know anyone else who may? Can you point me in the right direction? Because I'm not feeling so good.
Yeah. Like I said, it was getting bad. I was smoking opium every day.
But you were doing opium, though, right? Like, and Haley, you remember, I can't remember if it's part of your story, but I remember, like, we'd get heroin and we would be like, hey, it's just opium. Right? It ain't no big deal.
Right.
And you trick people into it's not cool, but it made me feel better. Like it's opium.
Misery loves company.
That's right.
We love
that's
to
right,
have
Jack.
people. Exactly. We love to have people join in our misery. So.
But now it's getting bad for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's bad look like?
I'm gambling with all the ties.
Shooting dice.
Yeah, this dice game, and I stopped diving.
Do you speak? How many languages do you speak?
No, I
Did you learn the language?
I knew enough to get by. I knew how to ask for opium.
Can you say something in one of the languages right now?
Like the numbers are like nung song sam si ha. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opium was mu.
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 Yeah.
Mu. So I knew more when I was over there, but again, I knew enough to get by, and most of them spoke English, so there was a little bit of not good English, but we were able to get by and communicate
enough.
Just enough. So you're shooting dice with some Thai people, man. You're smoking opium.
It's blowing through my mind.
Are you the only American out like where you're at? Like, it's just you and.
This is a very touristy island, but like I pretty much was only hanging out with Thais at this point. Just getting high.
And then finally you run out of money and it's time to come back.
I literally had to call my parents and ask them.
And they flew you back?
They helped me buy a plane ticket and fly back.
And so you came back in 2014. And what do you do when you touch down?
I literally the day I got back, I called Justin, who's good friend.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah, and I knew he was selling the oxycodone 30 pills, and so I literally picked up some of those the first day I got back, and it was off to the races with those. And
would your parents give you some money or something?
Yeah, probably. I don't remember how I bought them, or maybe he just spotted me or something.
Right.
And so you're immediately back into the game, and this is where it really gets bad for you, right?
Yeah.
And so why don't you kind of talk about, when you come back and being strung out and, you got a job at the post office and just kind of share that time period with us.
I had some oddball jobs for a couple of years, and in 2016, I got a job at the post office at the Sunny Slope Station at 7th Street in Mountain
Shout
View.
out all the slopers out there, slope style.
Oh, yeah.
You ever been to Sunny Slope, Haley?
Yeah, we have the apartments there.
I know. I'm just
messing. And my mom worked at the John C. Lincoln right there off Dunlap and 3rd. And my dad was homeless in the slopes, so when I had to go find him. So.
You had to find Pops in the slope?
I had to find him in the slopes. Remember the story? He was living in a refrigerator box. Yeah.
If you're interested in hearing about, Haley's dad living in a refrigerator box in Sunny Slope, go back to, our podcast, take a, it's on Spotify and iTunes. You can find our podcast, Sanctuary Radio, on any platform. Go ahead and check out, Jim Bob, right?
Yes.
Yeah, check that story out. His transformation is remarkable. The man that he is today and, what he does for the community, it's truly inspiring. Check that episode out. And so you're working at the post office, you get your own apartment. Mm-hmm. What, Justin moves in with you? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, it's a real condensed version. But yeah, I got an apartment at 7th Street in Mountain View, literally a 5-minute walk from the station, the post office station.
Were you walking to work every day?
Yeah. And, I was getting high as much as I could afford.
Spending all your money.
Literally.
I remember when we did step work, you said you would have like a budget and you would literally look at it and know exactly how much you could spend.
Yeah, on drugs. Yeah. And I would steal. I started stealing my food so I could buy more drugs. It was
always getting fronted, never having enough. Yeah,
my life was it revolved around getting high. And
you ever spend your check before you got it, Haley?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I still do that.
Yeah, always in the red, huh?
Yeah, I have a shopping problem, so Amazon is a killer for my credit, but it's okay. We'll be fine.
I got a Nike problem right now. It's bad.
Right?
Yeah, and I like watches. But anyway, so you're at the post office and you're working, but you're strung out. It's getting bad, but it gets real bad.
Yeah, I ended up, I took a position at the distribution center, did that for a few months, overnight shifts, and then I got a job at the Rose Garden station. At this point, I'm a career employee. I'm getting the better benefits.
I bet they have great benefits there.
Yeah, once you become like a regular career employee, they call it. And I was working at the Rose Garden station as a window clerk. Justin's living with me in a 1-bedroom apartment. He's sleeping on the couch, and he'd been there for around a year. And at this time, I don't know how we ended up finding crack. We started smoking crack and heroin. The oxycodones become too expensive, and so we
take them off the market.
Yeah, they're just harder to find, and they're extremely expensive. So we're smoking heroin and smoking crack, and crack was by far the most addicting drug I've ever done. And it became it got to a point where the 75% of the money would go towards that and the rest would go towards heroin. And I'm smoking.
You never smoked crack, huh, Haley?
Nope.
Yeah, I know that. I've asked you that before.
I think if I was presented the opportunity, I feel like I totally would have, but it just never presented itself to me. So
you ever see that Dave Chappelle where he's with Joe Rogan?
Oh yeah, in the Fear Factor.
Yeah, in the Fear Factor, the Dave Chappelle skit. Yeah, and he's like, I don't know if you know this about me, Joe Rogan.
Smoke rocks.
I smoke crack. I smoke rocks. Oh man.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, I'm getting high in the bathrooms right by the supervisor's office, and then going right out to the window to help customers with their mail. And it gets real bad. And then on June 5th, I woke up to go to work, and Justin's living with me, and he's not working because of COVID, and he's collecting $800 a month or a week from the unemployment.
Damn.
And I wake up to go to work, and he's slumped over on the couch, and I thought he was just passed out.
He's just sleeping.
And I go over to lift him up because I'm thinking his back's gonna hurt him. So I lift him up, and he's just purple and dark purple, and he had overdosed and died. And
dang it!
I called called 911, and they pretty much came in and told me instantly he's gone. And I as soon as the fire department and the police were done talking with me, I went and picked up the stuff that killed him. I went and picked up crack and fentanyl, and called out of work for like a week.
Out of his pocket type thing?
Well, he had left his wallet. I didn't. It was weird. I didn't see any paraphernalia on the table where he was, and but he had left his wallet out, and I'm a complete drug addict, man. I had helped him set up his unemployment, so I took his wallet and took his debit card because I knew the PIN, and I went to the ATM, withdrew however many hundreds of dollars, and went and picked up a bunch of drugs, and called out of work for like a week, and just got really, really high, and things started spiraling out of control at that point. And
when we look at those things, in all three of our histories, right? And it's like, you can't explain that. Like why, I would get into a car accident, someone's injured, and I don't go to help him. I go to look for the drugs, and, someone overdoses and dies, super traumatic event. The only thing we could think of. And so when we personally think about those events, or anyone asks us about those events, we don't have an explanation for it. Right. And I'm going to go big book for a second. Right. And I've been pretty good on this episode. Usually I'm thumping that thing the whole time, but it says that we have an allergy to this thing, right? And, it explains things that we can't otherwise account for, right? Because I'm in the midst of a physical craving beyond my control. I'm not a bad person. I'm just a sick person with an untreated illness. If I treat this thing, I don't do those things, right? And that's why we can't explain why everything we do, because we're in the midst of a craving beyond our control. Yeah. Right. And so that's why that happens. And so now you're really spiraling out of control. You're spending all your money. Now you got to hit a lick, right? Like we got to hit a lick now.
Yeah. I
mean, you hit one.
Yeah. I'm not making enough money to afford my habit.
Not when you're smoking crack.
Yeah, exactly. And
can't afford nothing.
I'm working.
Right.
Shout out to all the crackheads out there. You know what it is.
Yeah. And I'm working at the post office, window clerk, and I realize stamps are quite expensive, so I start stealing stamps. And
but what'd you do with the stamps?
I was selling them on OfferUp, and there was a pawn shop that would buy them.
Stamps?
They bought them for their personal use, though. It's not like they'd resell them. But
Because they sell stuff online and they send it out. So
and so
were you selling them half price or something?
Yeah, exactly. And the total was around like I think $8,500 that I stole. And on August, I think it was 17th, I got asked to come and do an office, and the Officer of Inspector General was there. And
like, hey, brother.
Yeah, long story short, they literally showed me on camera me doing. I was denying it, and
yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll even deny it when I'm caught red-handed. You know what I mean? And then I'm incapable of being honest, right? In my addiction, because honesty is something I haven't done in a very long time. It's uncomfortable to be honest. I mean, because I'm that's one of my main character defects is dishonesty. And, and even then when I'm caught red-handed, I'm only going to admit to what you know. Mm-hmm. I'm still not going to tell you the whole truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's crazy. And absolutely. So, do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, once she showed me on camera, like you said, I kind of told them what they already knew. And she was actually very understanding. I told her that Justin had just died. I found him dead on the couch, and I had a really, really bad drug problem. And she had recommended that I go get help because she said, you'll still have insurance for a couple months. So I ended up,
wow.
Yeah, I obviously was no longer, I technically resigned from the post office. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get fired. I mean, technically, I did get fired.
But you're not using him as a reference on your resume, are you?
Absolutely
right.
Definitely not. Yeah. And I go to treatment in Mesa for the very first time.
And where'd you go?
A place called Canyon Vista.
Oh, shout out Canyon Vista.
I know Canyon Vista.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, Haley.
Yep. But,
Haley knows everybody.
I wasn't taking it serious, and I ended up getting loaded in there. I had a friend come up from Phoenix and bring me crack and heroin, and got high in there. And
went to group?
Yeah. And they knew something was up.
Yeah,
and
they did.
They UA'd me, but I had some guy there peeing a bottle for me, and I got away with it.
Wow. So you graduated?
I ended up graduating. And then
so you're picking up chips?
Yeah, I don't. I didn't really do AA there. We just did groups, and they talked about the big book in AA, but I didn't really. I guess I kind of got introduced to it, but it wasn't. It was really in Prescott where I went after.
Because that's where you went, right? After Canyon Vista, you go to Prescott, and then you start this journey in Prescott. Yeah. And you're there. How many years were you actually in Prescott? A couple few years.
I went there in October of 2020, and I was there till about February 2021. The first time I was staying at a sober living house called New Freedom. No affiliation with the New Freedom out here. It was just one sober living. They didn't have other ones. Yeah, right.
And so you're out there, and there's a couple guys, man, that really.
Yeah, two guys in particular who ran that place, and names are Daniel and Russell. And
shout out.
Yeah, they.
Love the shout.
I didn't stay sober, but this is where seeds really started to get planted for me, and things started to change. Right. And after I ended up having somebody come out after being there for a month. I had a buddy come out from Phoenix and bring me crack and fentanyl and I think Xanax, but they knew instantly. I got kicked out for 72 hours.
Oh, the 72. Haley, how many people you think you 72'd in your history in behavioral health?
I don't know, probably at least 50.
Yeah, you ain't playing. When they see Haley walk into the door at any of our sober livings, that is a problem. It ain't good.
Yeah, you don't want me to show up anywhere unannounced.
Yeah, that's still to this day.
Right.
And so you're, so now it's 72 and you relapse and then you go back and, but you're still, you're in that period. They always say relapse is part of recovery, and, it is, but I hate to say it because I remember I always say it. Back in the day, my dad told me relapse is part of recovery, and I was like, okay, so it's okay to relapse.
Yeah.
The point of relapsing is to figure out why you relapse, what led up to it, what behaviors, and have the awareness now to not repeat those behaviors. And over a period of time of relapsing and gaining awareness of the issues and treating them, relapse becomes not a thing. right? But it took you a while to get there. And so you're in Prescott at Sober Living. You meet a girl.
Yeah.
And then eventually you come back to AZ?
I end up leaving the Sober Living house basically to be with this girl. Which
I'm in love. Where'd you meet her at?
I don't even know. I met her at work. I was working at Goodwill. And,
met her at Goodwill and then donated.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
Looking back, it was not a healthy relationship.
You think?
It was. Yeah,
you think?
It was, and it's funny because everybody at the Sober Living house, Daniel and Russell, they were all like,
dude,
"What do you?" Like,
yeah, bad
this
idea.
is
But
not-
we never listen, Haley.
Yeah.
Right.
We never listen. Haley's fell in love in the Medline before.
Yeah, and and of course they were all right. The relationship didn't work out, and it was literally like a month or less, and things ended, and I came back to Phoenix and just went on a real bad one for like a month and a half, 2 months, and didn't know what to do. I was staying at my parents' house. They were threatening to kick me out, and I called Russell or Daniel, one of the guys that were running New Freedom in Prescott, and I said, did I blow my chances? And they said, no, let me talk to the guys. And he called me back a few hours later and said, when can you get here? And I said, tomorrow morning. And he said, all right, just don't bring any stuff. So I ended up going back to Prescott, trying it again, really started to work an honest program. But after like a month and a half, I was working at a car wash, and
shout out to all the car wash guys out there, man. There's so many of them in recovery. Do big
Right.
Yeah,
yeah. And New Freedom did things a little differently. A lot of people wouldn't go there. Like, there was a lot of meetings. They didn't allow you to get into relationships while you were there, like new relationships. And I started messing around with the girl at the car wash.
Car wash.
And the point is,
car wash.
I started lying about it.
Messing around at the car wash.
Oh my gosh, Jason.
Yeah. And so eventually, though, your past catches up to you, man.
Yeah. I'm lying about it to everybody, and I get. Long story short, I get kicked out for lying and sneaking off, and all this stuff. Yeah, and I stay with a buddy for a while. Long story short, I have my first hearing for the stamps. It was like on November
all of a sudden
9th.
now you get an indictment for the stamps, right?
Yeah, I had 2 charges.
So they were cool, Haley, but not that cool.
Yeah,
because they pressed charges on you.
Got a felony and a misdemeanor charge, and I had a hearing on November 9th. Came down to Phoenix for that hearing. After the hearing, I got loaded. I got some crack and heroin, and went back to Prescott. And when I went back, I was actually staying at an Oxford house. I had been there for like a week, and they knew I was high, and they kicked me out, and had nowhere to go, and came back to Phoenix and stayed with a buddy in Scottsdale for a couple days, and was just getting high. And then I'd never been on pretrial or probation, and my pretrial officer calls me. He's like, why haven't you called me, man? Because I had to call him the day after the hearing.
Yeah, you
got to
call him right away, man. They don't play.
And he's like, what's going on? Are you getting high? And I told him I'd gotten high once, but I was getting high every day.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah.
That's it.
So he said, go to the courthouse and they'll see about getting you into Crossroads. And I did that. But when I went down there the next morning, expecting to talk to them about going to Crossroads, the marshals just arrested me. And I was like, what's going on?
They got you.
Yeah, they did. They always get you. I got hit by the marshals, but I mean, I've been, one time I went back in the day and I went to report to probation. I'm getting high. I'm doing all the wrong things and I'm lying to him every chance I get. And he's like, you need to report. And I go down there and he closes the door and there's 2 cops. And they arrested me, and it was a wrap at that point. And so now you're sitting in, CCA, you're in Florence, you're in federal, detention, right? Federal prison, right? Yep. And you're there for how long?
Month
because that's your sobriety date. Your sobriety date is November 16th, right?
November 17th. The last day I used was November 16th in the morning, right before I went to the courthouse and got arrested. So I started on November 17th, the first day I was clean.
So math's not my thing, but I know this. You're getting ready to have a year of sobriety. Man.
Yeah. November 17th will be a year.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome, man. I'm so grateful for that, dude.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, and so you end up getting to Crossroads, and
Crossroads Flower,
you remember when you first touched down, because think about his story, Haley. He's traveled all over. I mean, he's been everywhere in Asia. He's scuba diving and teaching English and backpacking and doing all these things, and then you show up at Crossroads.
I thought it was a joke. I thought everybody there was a joke. I thought the meetings were a joke. I had just come from Prescott, where I was like, this is recovery.
Yeah, they don't have recovery here.
Yeah, in Phoenix.
Shout out to Crossroads, man. All my service commitments are there.
Yeah, Crossroads. It's funny because Matt Doty, the guy who's running Flower, he picked me up and he was like, Crossroads saved my life. And I'm thinking, shut up, dude. Like, that's so stupid. And now it's like.
Turns out he was right.
Yeah, absolutely. And something changed at Crossroads. That's where I met you the first week there. And I heard a guy sharing a meeting one time. It was like my first month there. He shared, it all starts with the first lie. As part of something he said. And I remember like, dang, that's my experience. Like, and so I just remember thinking like, I'm never working an honest, solid program and then go get high. It always starts with for me, it's always dishonesty. I start lying about something, and the last time it was lying about seeing this girl and sneaking off to mess around with her, and then I start lying about other stuff, and then what happened in Prescott is I started stealing like Red Bulls and food, and thinking like I need to.
It's those behaviors that lead up to the relapse. So we're already in a lapse of behavior, right? Like that's what it is. Yeah. So we meet and we get in the book, man. Yep. And I come and I meet you every Sunday, and we're doing step work, and you're always prepared, and you attack that 4-step with vigorous action, energy, intensity, and force, and you were, honest about everything. And, what do you remember about that experience?
I just remember having an experience in my room at Crossroads thinking, like, if I don't get it this time, like, what's the point of anything? And I was on my 4th-step, about to do a 5th step, and I remember thinking, like, I just got to be fully honest. And, I had done 2 5th steps prior to that, and I left a bunch of stuff out. And my head tells me, like, the stuff I left out has nothing to do with recovery. Why do I need to tell another person this? Like, it has nothing to do with recovery. I called you, I called Daniel from Prescott, I called a couple people, and I just asked them their advice, and I got the same answer from everybody. Like, everything needs to go. Like, I need to get everything out and talk about everything. And so that's what we did. And I got fully honest on my 5th step. And
we actually hiked a trail.
Yeah,
pulled off on a trail on the side of a mountain, did a 5th step. It was one of the coolest experiences
it was really cool.
that I've had. What trail was that?
It was at Paisawa Peak. Yeah, it used to be called Squaw Peak.
Paisawa Peak.
Yeah.
I remember I wasn't prepared. I had on.
We had Starbucks.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was like a trail. Like, I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. We're just out of coffee. You know what I mean?
That's a real hike right there.
I'm in
that trail's a hike.
Yeah, I got Jordans on. You know what I mean?
We had like venti Starbucks in our hands. It's ridiculous.
But we hiked up.
Awesome.
We hiked up about halfway. We pulled off. We did a 5th step, man, and from that moment on, freeing yourself from the wreckage of your past, and because that's what we have to do. We have to bring those things that we don't want to share from the dark to the light, because when they're in the dark, they hold power over us, right? And so we have to free ourselves from that. And that's what you did, man. You freed yourself, and we went on to work the steps. And when you were getting ready to graduate, I said, bro, you want to work in recovery?
Yeah, it was really cool. I was working a job. Real quick, it was funny because I have to say this because for me it's important. Like when I was at Flower, a couple people brought a meeting to Flower that had never been there before, and it was a Recovery Dharma meeting. And Recovery Dharma is a more Buddhist-inspired approach to recovery. And so I've always been fascinated with Eastern philosophies and
you think?
Yeah. And so I really enjoyed this meeting. So even today, like I do both programs. I do AA, I do Recovery Dharma. I actually facilitate a Recovery Dharma meeting on Tuesdays at Flower. I took that meeting over, and it was at that meeting I met this girl. I met Katie. And
shout out Katie.
Yeah.
Big shout out.
And
phenomenal cupcakes.
It was cool because I shared with her one of my favorite books, which is called Siddhartha. It's a story of the Buddha. And
I remember when you told me.
It's funny too, because like
I gave her a book, and I'm like,
I talked to you about. I wanted your opinion on everything. Like, do you think it's okay to go get coffee with her? And you know, I wanted to do it right this time. And so we got coffee. We went to a meeting together. We hung out quite a few times while I was at Crossroads.
And these were approved passes. You were in IOP.
Oh yeah, and that was the
you're
thing,
doing
like,
things the right way. You talked to them about it. You talked to me about it. You were honest.
And it was
It
was really cool. Yeah, I every pass I filled out, I would put her name and her number on there. And like I literally had employees at Crossroads telling me, just fill out a pass to go job search and go hang out with her. And I'm like, dude, I cannot do that today. I have to be honest with this stuff. I'm not willing to be dishonest today, because I know where that will lead me. You know, and
you guys are still together to this day, man.
Still together. She's
awesome.
She is. She has helped me more than she knows. I've really come to understand the importance of like self-care and like putting myself first. Just with her story, and
because she's got a powerful message.
She really does, and
I mean, we all do.
You know? Absolutely, we all do, and she's just helped me a lot. Yeah. It's really cool. It's really cool.
He loves her.
Aww.
Oh, that's so cute, man. It's such and you know what? There's no set thing on relationships, man. There's no set. You got to do it this way. You gotta wait. You got to do this. You got to do that. If you're spiritually fit, you're working an honest program. You're thoroughly doing everything you can. You have service commitments. You're in the book. You're working with others. When you're doing these things, everything else falls in line because you're working a solid program, including relationships.
Yeah.
Life still happens. It's still tough. Things happen in relationships. They're not easy all the time. I'm not the best. Like I have my character defects are still there, but we continue to work on them, man. And when we're wrong, we admit it, and we're able to have honest conversations. And so you graduate Crossroads and you come.
Yeah, literally, I start working at Sanctuary overnight shifts, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, literally right out of Crossroads. And I've told you, I called you when this was going on. I tell a lot of new guys that first week out of Crossroads it was literally a crossroads, no pun intended. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. And, I had this routine.
You moved into sober living.
Moved into sober living, but like.
Shout out Ron Carter.
Yeah. Yeah, Ron Carter, my house manager. Yeah. But yeah, I just was having a lot of thoughts that first week about wanting to use. And I told you about them, and I called Daniel and Prescott, was talking to him about them, and I got through it and just continued to do the overnight shift at the residential house. And one thing led to another, and like just... I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, he came, he worked overnights. He learned the job. He started to work with others. He developed relationships with the clients, and, he loved them till they can love themselves. And that's what we do with our job, and you went to swing shift, and then you went to day shift, and then you came over to the IOP clinic that we have. And now you're a case manager, dude. Yeah. I mean,
it's pretty cool,
dude. It's awesome, man. You're getting ready to celebrate a year of recovery. You got an amazing girl in your life. You're a hard worker at your job. You got a better car, right? Yeah, car. You got another car. Shout out, Dad.
Yep.
Right, and everything has came together for you, bro. And that's why I sponsor other men to see things like this. That's why we work in recovery. When we see people recover from this thing, we witness a miracle, dude. It's the bright spot of my life, man. And I'm truly grateful you're a member of the Sanctuary team. I got a ton of love for you, dude. When you really work the steps with a sponsee, they become friends because you're sharing your true self with them. That's intimacy, the genuine sharing of one's true self with another. And I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity, man, just to show up and be there for you and witness your actions along with your connection to a higher power transform you into the man you are today, dude. I love you, bro.
Love you too, man. I'm super grateful for you.
We had a moment right now, Haley.
Yeah.
I'm cheesing right now. I've been cheesing this whole time.
Yeah, dude, this is my guy right here.
Yeah.
And so, Haley, well, first off, thank you for being on the show today,
Thank you
man.
for having me, man.
Your
I
message,
appreciate
your
it.
story, that just everything, got to share it, man. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing it with us and all our listeners around the world.
Absolutely.
So Haley, where can they find us at?
They can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all at Sanctuary Recovery Center.
Come check us out, share everything,
Yeah.
man. Like us, subscribe, get the message out there. If you want to be on the podcast, continue to reach out. There's so many people
Right.
trying to get on. We'll get everybody in. Haley, when you coming into town, man, I need to see you here. I need to see
I will
you.
be there the 20th. I'll be there the 20th. And so we will absolutely be doing some in-person podcasts. I'll be in the office and I miss everybody and I can't wait to be in person.
Yeah,
it's
so
going to be awesome.
for everyone who's watching this right now, we'll watch this when we post it on YouTube. If you see me looking down, I got my phone here because I need to see Haley. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that she did her hair. That's it. I wanted to make sure she
Yeah.
was ready to rock and roll today. And you are, Haley. I love you. It's good to see you. Continue to follow
you.
us, Sanctuary Radio. You know what it is. Every Friday we're dropping episodes. Friday, Saturday they'll be out. Continue to be on our team, man. Be on the team because recovery is a team sport.
Exactly.
All right, man. Thank you, Ryan. Haley, I
thank you.
can't wait to see you. Continue to tune in. Thank you.